let's get into this draft preview first of all. So, obviously, I'm not one to do a mock draft myself. For one, I don't want to misinform people and make them think that I know more about all of these draft prospects than I actually do. I don't. And frankly, I'm just being honest. Most of these people in the media probably know about as much about most of the draft prospects as you and me, which is to say, not a whole lot. They might know some particular people, and the higher up in the draft, you might become more familiarized with a particular player, especially if they were, mocked up in that area basically all of the college football season. But even still, any of these mock drafts, it's all speculative. It's all nonsense. It's all just fun, and nobody ever gets it right. Nobody. Like I don't even know if it's possible really to get every single pick correct, because it's just, you don't know what teams are looking at, and teams are looking at different things. They're not looking at the things that we're looking at as fans, and sometimes that's good. And teams make shrewd moves. I mean, look at how the media reacted to the Lions taking Jahmyr Gibbs and how that pick ended up working out in the season. But I wanted to take a look at Tankathon's mock draft, mostly because I don't even know who makes this exactly. And I'm not going to go through every single pick. I'll just kind of go down the list and noteworthy things that I think are kind of interesting in this mock draft so that I don't bore everybody. So obviously, first overall, originally Carolina's pick, now Chicago's pick, thanks to the trade for DJ Moore. Bears obviously taking Caleb Williams. Look, I didn't watch too much Caleb Williams, but when I did watch Caleb Williams, or when I looked at his stats on a box score, it was pretty unbelievable. I mean, he is probably the real deal. Like, I only say probably because I've heard this before. Trevor Lawrence was the real deal too, and that is yet to live up to the hype. And it's been, it's going to be 4 years since he got drafted. But no, I mean, Caleb Williams, he's mobile. He can sling the ball. He can go on the run, like I said. I mean, like, he does it all. And if you watch USC football, you know what I'm talking about. They had an elite offense with him at the helm. I mean, just looking at the stats here that they have on the mock draft, threw for 3,600 yards, 30 touchdowns, just 5 interceptions. I mean, like, from those numbers alone, you're like, yeah, this cat is really, really good. The other big name quarterback coming in the top 3 is Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels from LSU. The only game I watched, and I was only sort of on and off watching it, was the LSU Alabama game. And Jaden Daniels, I mean, to his credit, he's a really good quarterback. He ended up winning the Heisman, so there's that. He was in, I think, a pretty powerhouse offense. I know he had a couple of big name wide receivers because it's LSU. They seem to always have big name wide receivers on their roster. Just every year, it's like, oh, here's a new first round wide receiver. Have fun with him. But I do think, personally, I think he might be the best. He's at least my favorite quarterback coming out. And again, take all of this with a grain of salt. I like Jaden Daniels a lot. He's kind of quiet. He doesn't garner a lot of attention, and I kind of like the lack of pressure. I mean, think of like last year with CJ Stroud, where Bryce Young was basically the consensus number 1 pick, and CJ Stroud was consistently sort of looked at as like the second option. I think Jaden Daniels could develop something very similar where he doesn't have a whole lot of pressure. If he turns out to be worse than Caleb Williams, well, okay, he was going to be worse than Caleb Williams anyway, according to the media. And if he ends up being better, then he proves everybody wrong and he feels good about himself. And so it's a win-win-win. It's the old Michael Scott win-win-win for Jaden Daniels. The only concern is he would be going to Washington, who sucks at basically everything. However, if Washington does have one thing that they have going for them, I kind of like their wide receiver room. It's quiet. You don't hear too much about it. But they got a pretty decent wide receiver room. I'm not going to go into their wide receiver room right now. I know it is. I don't know the names. I'm terrible with names. It's baseball season. Get off my back, okay? But they got a good wide receiver room. If you're a Commanders fan, you know what I'm talking about. So he's going to go into Washington, and obviously they got a new coach, helming as well. And ownership is trying to fix the Dan Schneider effect, or the Dan Snyder, not Dan Schneider. Dan Schneider was Drake and Josh. Dan Snyder was Washington Commanders. What is it with Dan Schneiders? What a weird coincidence. And then the number 3 on this mock, we got Drake May. I'm going to be honest. I don't think I wouldn't know Drake May from a guy on the street. I've never watched Drake May. I think I might have watched one North Carolina football game, and it was on a multi-view, so I wasn't really all that focused on it in particular. I don't know. Drake May, like, he feels a lot like a Sam Howell, which is funny because according to this mock, he's going right after Sam Howell's team, the Commanders. And I know they went to the same school, I know, but I don't know. Even like looking at his numbers, I'm not like blown away. Like, they're good. I mean, you throw for 3,600 yards, you got my attention. But through 24 touchdowns, 9 picks, okay. He's probably going to be a solid player, and assuming you build around him and give him solid weapons, he could be a pretty good quarterback. I really don't know. I don't have much of a I don't have so much of a like strong feeling about him. He is kind of the true neutral of this class. And while Seth is not here, I do want to take a look at what this mock has the Chargers taken. They have the Chargers taking Malik Neighbors, who was one of the wide receivers for Jaden Daniels. So if Seth were here, he would probably like that pick because I think the wide receiver room for the Chargers is looking a little barren right now. Obviously, you lose Mike Williams. And Quentin Johnston didn't look too great last year. And you lost Austin Eckler, who is not a wide receiver, I understand. But, you're losing guys in the offensive side. So I think this would be a great weapon for Justin Herbert and that Chargers offense with Jim Harbaugh now taking over as the head coach. I like that pick. I think they should be going offense. If they're not going Malik Neighbors, I wouldn't mind them going Brock Bowers. I think it would be a risky pick because it'd be top 5 pick on a tight end. But, I mean, I think Brock Bowers could be a really, really good tight end in this league. But the other thing that's interesting, J.J. McCarthy on this mock, apparently going to the Giants. I understand everybody should know at this point, Michigan State fan, Michigan State alum. I have no love for any Michigan. I have no love for anything Michigan. But I'm going to try to be as unbiased as possible and say that I don't know why J.J. McCarthy is being mocked so highly. I don't know why his draft stock just sort of shot up into the sky. I mean, like, there was a few games where I could point where, yeah, JJ looked pretty good. But, I mean, even in last year, in their national championship game, I want to say he definitely threw for less than 200 yards in that game because they ran for like 1,000 yards on Washington. But maybe he'll be a solid quarterback. For me, though, if I'm a GM and I need a quarterback of the future, I'm not starting JJ McCarthy. I'd want to bring him in maybe, and maybe that's why the Giants could be a good fit because they already are under contract with Daniel Jones. So maybe JJ sits behind Daniel Jones, kind of develops, gets some more reps, under his belt. Maybe plays a few preseason games, and then once he's ready and raring to go, he can take over. And assuming the Giants build a solid offense around him, good O-line, good run game, good receivers, etc. Maybe it could work out, but as it stands right now, if J.J. McCarthy is picked and then he's your starter immediately, especially if we're talking any of these top 10 teams outside of maybe, I don't think he's going to get taken here, but like the Falcons or the Jets, which obviously I don't think he's going to get taken there, but I just don't. I don't know. If I were JJ, I'd want to get taken later in the draft, maybe by I don't know, New Orleans. I don't know about that. Actually, I just threw up a little bit there. Maybe Seattle. I don't know. Obviously, he's going to get taken wherever he gets taken, and he's going to make a lot of money. But I don't know. If I'm a team, I might hold off on JJ McCarthy. But moving along here. A few others if something catches my attention. How about this? So Cooper DeJean. Now you hear the name Cooper DeJean and you're like, okay, I don't know who that is. Well, he's a cornerback out of Iowa, and no smarm. he's white, and he's apparently pretty good. I have no idea. I don't know anything about Cooper DeJean. Okay, I really don't. I watched him probably one time when Michigan State played Iowa, and I don't even really remember that game. But he's being touted as one of the better cornerbacks in this draft, and he was used in special teams. This mock has him going to Philly. I wouldn't mind if the Lions go ahead and take him. Now, on this mock, the Lions are taking Darius Robinson, edge out of Missouri. I also wouldn't mind that. As far as I'm concerned, Lions should be taking a defensive player, somebody maybe on the line. I wouldn't mind them taking a corner, a skill position player. As far as I'm concerned, though, I mean, they can basically do whatever they want short of drafting a quarterback or a kicker. If they want to draft a safety or a DB, I should say, or offensive line, edge rusher, D line, whatever they want to do, okay, fine. Because Brad Holmes has developed that trust. Like I don't have any reason not to trust his judgment in terms of hitting on first round picks. I mean, it's like his first round picks are Penei Sewell, Aiden Hutchinson, Jamison Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Jack Campbell. I think you could probably say at the least 3 out of 5 of those guys are star caliber players. Like, and then the other 2 are JMO, who hasn't really played all that much and certainly could turn into a star, and Jack Campbell, who was just a really solid player. Like, he wasn't like a star or anything, but he was a solid player. So I really got no fear. Now, as far as like whether or not they want to trade out or trade up, I don't know. You could do a variety of things there, but like, I really don't have any particular love for anyone in this draft. Like, I like Cooper DeJean just because it's kind of funny, and I think it would be hilarious if we just have like the first really good white cornerback in the league. I like Chop Robinson just because of his name. Kool-Aid McKinstry also because of his name. And then Darius Robinson, I've heard him mocked to the Lions a few times. Sure, why not? I don't really have a problem with it. Jackson Powers Johnson, powerful name, amazing name. Would love that. But I wanted to, as we move along here, I wanted to then pose the question to the people in the comments. This will be clipped out. So in the comments, if you come along this video, who do you want your team to take? I mean, like, name a guy, position, whatever it is. I'm a Lions fan. I'm saying pick defense. Particularly on the edge or on the DB side of things. I don't really have anybody in particular, but if you're, say, a Cardinals fan or a Falcons fan, what are you thinking? Who's the guy that you're looking for? And if you're a Saints fan, how are you still alive? We need to make sure everything is going all right for you. I know the Pelicans are in the playoffs, but stuff is not great. And then one more thing before we wrap up our little preview of the NFL draft. I want to do one player that I think is going to be a major hit, and then one player that I think is going to be a major bust. And this is only for fun, okay? Don't come back at me. Well, you said is going to be like a superstar, and he wasn't. I'm doing this for fun. It's not. I'm not going at it with like I've done the research, okay? So first, the one that I think is going to be a hit, just looking at some of these guys on this mock draft, because that's as far as I'll go. I do think Jaden Daniels will be a hit. I really do. I think he's been slept on going into this. He's been seen as the consensus number 2 guy. And so, I think that he is going to kind of take hold. I think he's going to really hit hard. As far as who I think is going to bust, now I'll give 2 answers. I'll give the answer that is less likely, but also could be written in the walls, written in the stars. I think I mixed metaphors there. Written in the stars. And the other that I think is more probable to end up not working out. First one will be one Caleb Williams. Now, I'm not doing this to be clickbaity, but my thing, and obviously, Lions fan, he doesn't want to be good because he wants the Bears to suck. Now, I do want the Bears to suck, but that's not because of Caleb Williams. I wish it'd be even better if Caleb Williams was so good and they didn't win anything with him. That'd be super duper for me. Like, I would love that. But My only reason for the Caleb Williams thing is because with any number one overall pick, there was immense pressure. And there's going to be especially immense pressure on this particular number one overall pick. He has been, according to what I've heard, and, take it with a grain of salt. I don't know how true all of it is. This guy has basically been bred since he was like 10 years old to be a first round pick in the NFL. And I think all through his time at USC, he's been told how pretty he is, how great he is, how perfect, how he's so amazing, and there's no problems in his game. And obviously last year, he didn't win the Heisman. He was going in, he was favored as the Heisman, thought USC might have been able to take hold, maybe go on a national championship run. Didn't work out. That defense stunk. So that wasn't going to happen. But the other thing about him is, I don't know, and I'm not trying to get personal against Caleb Williams. I really don't have anything personal against the man. But all this, weird stuff where he's, the painting of the nails, the kind of, I don't want attention, but I'm getting a lot of attention stuff. That kind of thing bothers me. If you don't want attention, you're just not going to get it. But clearly, he's getting attention, and he probably likes it a little bit, at least a little bit. So, and I know there was the whole thing where I don't remember what game it was where he lost, and when he lost, he went out and he his mom was in the crowd, and he went and hugged her and cried, and look, I understand it's an emotional time. I get it. I'm not trying to dogpile on the guy. I'm sure he doesn't like to lose, but the thing is, he's going to be going into a really tough spot in Chicago. Their defense is not great, and their offense, they got some pieces, but I don't know if their coach is the right guy. He might not be going into a great situation, and the Bears historically have not done a good job of hitting on quarterbacks. And I don't know. It's does he have the leadership quality? Are guys going to rally around him if he's more about the flash, the flair, and making it all about him? Again, I'm not trying to spin a narrative and a yarn about him, but I'm just telling you how it feels. And also, USC has not really developed a lot of successful quarterbacks throughout its time. So, again, just mere speculation. The other one that I think is more likely, and we talked about it a little earlier, is J.J. McCarthy. And this is only assuming that he gets taken in that upper echelon of quarterbacks and he's thrown into the starter role. I think if he's thrown into the starter role, the world is going to come at him fast. I think it's not going to be good. And he just doesn't have the reps. If he got more reps at Michigan, or if he went back this past season and played, he might not be drafted as highly, and that's probably what his agent was telling him, is that your draft stock is not going to be any higher than it is right now because you've just won a national championship. So you might as well just go ahead and take it and see what happens. But assuming JJ gets taken in the first round, by, I would say, in the top 6 or 7, basically those top 7 teams, roughly where a lot of the quarterbacks are going to go. And if he gets taken, I don't know. Depending on how that situation ends up going, I don't know. It doesn't bode well for me. He just didn't do enough in terms of, passing the ball. He just didn't. And some Michigan fans will disagree with that, but you can look at the numbers. You can look at the individual games, barring, a lot of the highlights against, Colorado State or, Bowling Green. There was never that marquee JJ game. Maybe one of the Ohio State games. That's my 2 cents, I guess. Hey there, what you just watched was actually a clip from a larger show that we do every Tuesday night. What are you doing Tuesday night? Go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the like button so that you don't miss out on any more of our weekly shows every single Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope to see you there.